Hello. Today I have a bunch of things to get to, so we're going to see how this goes. But the one I want to start with, and this is something that I thought about recently, is knowledge gained without thought is not knowledge, it's just information. And this is important because when it comes to learning, we go to school for these classes and we get taught all of this stuff, and then we just write our notes down, we write it down, and then we study our notes, and we do the test, and we figured out a method, right, for how to solve these problems. And so we're supposed to just use this method to solve the problem, but we don't really have the knowledge of why this method works, and we don't have the background to understand what the method means necessarily. And when you don't have that kind of information, right, then what you have is not really a knowledge. You're not very knowledgeable. You just have information, which, you know, there is a difference, because you can know a lot of stuff about stuff, but if you don't know why that stuff works that way, then it's just information. It's not that you're very knowledgeable on the subject, you just have a lot of information about the subject. And when you don't have knowledge on the subject, you can't really think about why things are the way they are. All you can think about is how to solve problems with what you have. And that's very useful for a lot of scenarios, but it doesn't really lead to questioning if what you're learning is right, or if there's a better way, or figuring out what to do with this method. Maybe this can be used in other places. But when you don't really understand what you're doing, you're just doing it because that's how you were taught how to do it, then you're not going to really have the capability to advance things, to innovate, because you don't know how to change something that you don't know how it works, right? You don't walk up to a car and say, yeah, I could probably take this out here and, plug this in here, and then my car is going to drive better. Most people can't do that because they don't know how the car works. Most people don't even know how a car works in general. They're just like, yeah, well, I get in, start my car, and it goes. And it's fine. You don't need to know how your car works. But my point is that a majority of people wouldn't even know the first thing about fixing a car, let alone improving a car. So, I think it's important that if there's anything that you want to get better at, if there's anything you want to learn more about, you have to develop a knowledge, and you have to start that from the ground up. You can't just jump right into the deep end, because the problem with that is well, you could, but in order to understand what's going on there, you're going to have to then backtrack all the way back to a base where you understand. And so, for me, I've been recently going into a lot of physics, about relativity, special relativity, quantum dynamics, stuff like that. And it's kind of crazy because I'm interested in learning about this. It's fun for me to sit here and learn these videos, and I feel like I'm almost working on a puzzle right now. And maybe maybe I'm completely wrong about my theories, but I'm enjoying my time learning about this stuff. And there was a time where I just didn't really see the value of learning anything, of putting my time towards understanding a subject, because I was like, what am I going to use this for? And having that mindset totally kills your motivation, because if you look at everything as when am I going to use this, then you will not be able to apply yourself to learn it, because you've already told yourself it's worthless. And so it's important that for every subject you're learning, not to think about why you won't use it, but to think of how you could use it. And It may not always be the easiest thing to do, but you need that sort of justification there, because if you tell yourself it's worthless, then it is, right? And you're not. What's the point of putting your time towards something worthless? You will never get the effort in. It'll always seem like you're working so hard to learn this stuff because you told yourself you don't need it. But if you tell yourself this is something you want to do, this is something you want to learn, and you need to learn it because you want to do this with it, you want to understand how it works so that you can do something else, right? Then all of a sudden it's no longer this great task to figure this out, because learning it is interesting. Learning it is fun because you want to know, right? And when it comes to just anything in general, if you want to know, if you want to learn, if you actually want to understand the information that's being told to you, it's no longer so hard to get yourself to study. It's no longer so hard to sit down and ponder about a math question or some kind of other problem that's facing you right now. It doesn't have to just be mathematics or physics. It can be any class. It could be anything. It could be, oh, I want to learn how to sew better. I want to learn how to, be a carpenter or something. Anything you want to learn and you truly want to understand, it's going to be easier for you to put that time in, because it's no longer this work that you're doing. It's a task you wanted to do, right? And in theory, you find it interesting. So, I think that's all I wanted to say on that one. Strive for knowledge. Don't just gather information. Information is good to get knowledge, but don't just stop there. Peace out.